During the recent Town of Innisfil Council meeting, Mayor Lynn Dolan recognized the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association for their volunteerism during recent heavy snowfalls. The youth group cleared driveways for seniors and residents with disabilities without charge. In addition to their labor, the group donated 2,000 pounds of food and $5,000 in cash to the Innisfil Food Bank. The mayor read testimonials from residents praising the group's true community spirit and compassion. Next, the council debated a 4.2% property tax increase. Councilor Alex Waters opposed the budget, arguing that using one-time surpluses and reserves to lower the rate from the planned 5.5% was simply delaying a larger tax hike for the next council in 2027.
Staff have done a good job in terms of presenting what it costs to operate a town. And we're a small municipality. And so those taxes are required if you want to maintain those. We can always have a discussion in terms of what you're willing to lose. And we do that during the budget session. We did that and we came up with a 5.5%. So I just wanted an opportunity to say that in 2027, expect that those types of tax increases are going to happen again because we didn't accept the responsibility of managing and protecting the budget the way it was.
However, Deputy Mayor Kenneth Fowler and Councillor Kevin Eisses argued that residents need immediate relief because of high cost of living and food insecurity. Under the new strong mayor's power, the budget was moved as the mayor's budget and passed with an 8-1 vote.
Quite glad to take the slings and arrows I'm going to get, being the only one who's going to vote against this item.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. And you're not alone on this. I mean, it's been a very difficult time to get to this point, and it's you know, I can agree with you, and I can agree with the deputy, and I can agree with Councillor Eisses. I can agree with everybody at this table. And right in the staff report, it talks about the continued use of the property tax rate stabilization reserve and the ARS reserve fund to support operating costs is not financially sustainable. People aren't driving their cars without insurance because they think they're going to get away with it. They're driving their cars without insurance because they can't afford to pay for insurance. So we've had a few issues that have come to us this year that are not direct, that we had to deal with. The biggest one was the increase in the police services budget. 10.83% increase year over year in our police services budget.
Finally, the council reviewed economic development and issues at Innisfil Heights. They celebrated recent successes like attracting Northern Transformer, but noted that poor drainage is currently a major barrier for new and existing small businesses. To fix this, council approved a master drainage study to look at the area as a whole and find a way to share the cost of repairs. Councilor Waters also raised concerns about the high water and energy use of data centers, and staff confirmed they are carefully studying which specific industries best fit town's current utility capacity.
Although, for example, Northern Transformer mentions economic development, it really is a team effort to attract investment in terms of the full planning and growth team. So when leads come our way, it really requires the collaboration of the full team to understand, do we have the water capacity? Do we have the power capacity? What barriers are in the way? What skilled trades do we have in terms of talent that align with the industries that we're attracting? As it relates to data centers, we are looking at a variety of factors, including direct and indirect economic impacts. So we take into account the types of employment that are created, how that impacts our overall capacity to attract new businesses, and we look at that in the scope of all of our vacant land across the town.
Following is the coverage of the meeting.
A certificate that we would like to give to some of our residents. So I just have a few speaking notes first, and then we'll welcome all of you, please, to receive a certificate of recognition. So I would like to welcome you all and thank you for joining us this evening as we recognize and thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association for their incredible service assisting those in need in our community with snow clearing. Shoveling snow is a hard job. We all know that, and we've all done enough of it already this year. We've certainly had a lot of snow the past couple of weeks, and while the town's snow clearing crews have been working around the clock to service roads and sidewalks, The youth of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association have stepped up to help clear driveways of seniors and those with disabilities. This is such an incredible initiative, and I want to share some feedback that we've received from some very grateful residents. One resident shared, "In weather like this, when many of us, especially seniors and those with health or mobility challenge, feel overwhelmed and stuck, your help means more than words can truly express. You didn't have to come out in such harsh conditions, yet you chose to show up, shovel snow, and care for your neighbors without asking for anything in return. Your actions reflect compassion, service, and true community spirit. You remind us all what it means to look out for one another, regardless of background or belief. Because of you, many of us feel safer, less alone, and deeply supported during a difficult time. Please know that your kindness has not gone unnoticed and will not be forgotten. You have truly warmed our hearts on some of the coldest days of the year." And finally, "They came as soon as they had time. They're amazing. When I offered, they would not take any money. They refused. They will not take anything. They're doing it from the goodness of their hearts." So the impact that you've made, the difference you've made through your kindness and service is truly remarkable. Thank you for your service and commitment to our community. You are so appreciated, and we are so fortunate to have you as valued residents of the town of Innisfil. So with that, I would also like to recognize and thank Debbie O'Neill, who was one who put a Facebook post on, and the paper did a story also about this amazing group of young people. And now I've got a certificate I will present, and we'll get a photo taken. A certificate that we would like to give to some of our residents. So I just have a few speaking notes first, and then we'll welcome all of you, please, to receive a certificate of recognition. So I would like to welcome you all and thank you for joining us this evening as we recognize and thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association for their incredible service assisting those in need in our community with snow clearing. Shoveling snow is a hard job. We all know that, and we've all done enough of it already this year. We've certainly had a lot of snow the past couple of weeks, and while the town's snow clearing crews have been working around the clock to service roads and sidewalks, the youth of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association have stepped up to help clear driveways of seniors and those with disabilities. This is such an incredible initiative, and I want to share some feedback that we've received from some very grateful residents. One resident shared, "In weather like this, when many of us, especially seniors and those with health or mobility challenge, feel overwhelmed and stuck, your help means more than words can truly express. You didn't have to come out in such harsh conditions, yet you chose to show up, shovel snow, and care for your neighbors without asking for anything in return. Your actions reflect compassion, service, and true community spirit. You remind us all what it means to look out for one another, regardless of background or belief. Because of you, many of us feel safer, less alone, and deeply supported during a difficult time. Please know that your kindness has not gone unnoticed and will not be forgotten. You have truly warmed our hearts on some of the coldest days of the year." And finally, "They came as soon as they had time. They're amazing. When I offered, they would not take any money. They refused. They will not take anything. They're doing it from the goodness of their hearts." So the impact that you've made, the difference you've made through your kindness and service is truly remarkable. Thank you for your service and commitment to our community. You are so appreciated, and we are so fortunate to have you as valued residents of the town of Innisfil. So with that, I would also like to recognize and thank Debbie O'Neill, who was one who put a Facebook post on, and the paper did a story also about this amazing group of young people. And now I've got a certificate I will present, and we'll get a photo taken. Thank you. My mic wasn't on, so I'm not sure if you heard, but this amazing group of youth also gave $5,000 cash and how many pounds? 2,000 pounds of food to the Innisfil Food Bank as well. So thank you again. Now, could I please have a mover and a seconder to recognize the presentation? Moved by Councillor Zanella and seconded by Deputy Fowler. All those in favor? That is carried. Following that item, we have item 6, which is delegations by members of the public. We have no delegations this evening. So we'll go right to any municipal associations or any committees that you have been asked to serve on for the betterment of Innisfil. Anyone have any committees that they want to report on? Thank you. I guess they were pretty quiet over the holidays. I will just report quickly on the County Council meeting that happened yesterday. It was our first County Council meeting for 2026. There was lots of discussion. Well, maybe I'll start with the good news. There was an age-friendly update from the age-friendly community, or the age-friendly strategic plan that the county has. And there was a lot of items talked about, but one of the most important one is the housing grant, the age-friendly housing grant. This is a grant you can apply for if you are a senior in a home and you maybe need some assistance, maybe some bathroom renovations, a chairlift. We actually did hear from one member of council whose parents had got a stairlift put in their home, which allows them to stay in their home longer. So those grants are available from the County of Simcoe if you do require them. And also in April, there was an activity for older adults calendar launched in partnership with 211. And it's an events calendar given out to everyone in Simcoe County to help older people find socialization and understand what activities are happening in their neighborhood. After that discussion, we spoke a lot at the county about the provincial rollout of the producer-led recycling. I got the impression that Innisfil fared fairly well compared to some of our neighbors in terms of hiccups with our pickups. We had relatively few hiccups compared to some municipalities who had the majority of their municipality missed in recycling. So we requested that staff report back on what we could do to help provide pickup for the industrial, commercial, and institutional places that are currently not getting picked up under the new producer regime, and that will come back to us. And we've also asked many of our county councillors who are attending the Rural Ontario Municipal Conference this coming weekend to please advocate for more pickups for our ICI residents. And that was all I had. Anyone else have anything that they needed to talk about? All right. Then we will go on to item 8. And that is our consent list. So we'll go through the items that are on the agenda. If you have questions about one, please feel free to ask. If you want to pull it for a fulsome discussion, we can refer it to committee of the whole. And I'll start with item A1, our special council meeting minutes dated December the 10th. A2, our council meeting minutes from December the 10th. B1, that would be the report from the Innisfil Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting. B2, that would be the Innisfil Heritage Advisory Committee meeting. B3, that would be the Innisfil Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. C1, that would be 744 Bayview Avenue Class 3 variation to the CPPS bylaw. Okay, C2, that would be the South Simcoe Police Service cost sharing ratios and budget. I did have one question if I could, and that was regarding the ratio. So this determines the ratio between what Bradford and what Innisfil pay. And my question is this the same as the December 10th report? When we had the December 10th report, it showed what that ratio was, and I just want to make sure that it's the same number as is on this recommendation today.
Yes, Mayor Dolan, at that time we did have our final assessment growth, so the number has not changed.
Thank you. And I will point out that we do have Chief Van Dyke here with us virtually if anybody had any questions. But I'm not seeing any, so Chief Van Dyke, I think you have the rest of the night off. Next, we'll go to C3. That would be the staff report regarding the 2026 final operating and capital budget. Councilor Waters.
I'd like to pull it, thank you.
That's referred to committee. Next, we have D1. That would be the Economic Development Annual Activity Report. Councillor Eisses.
I'd like to refer that to committee, please.
Thank you. Item D2, the sole source procurement, flexible asphalt on the 11th line. I did have a question on that item, if I could. I don't need to pull it unless someone else has questions. I understand that this is an emergency repair, and I accept that. But this is, the 11th line is about a half a kilometer of road that is in our municipality before reaching the border of the township of Eisses. And I guess my question is, when we have situations like that on the edges of our community, do we work with the neighboring municipality when it comes to capital projects so that maybe one municipality can do it and the other municipality can participate in some of the funding? Director Bowman.
Your Worship, thank you for the question. And I mean, the brief answer is yes, we're always glad to work with our neighbors to do that. The secret is in having good communication with those neighbors. And I'm pleased our new roads manager who's in the audience tonight, Stephen Dolmeyer, is working on those relationships so that when the need is there, we know who the players are and we can have those conversations at the right time. Wonderful, thank you very much for that.
And that gets us to E, bylaws, and we have none, and correspondence for action. The council discretionary grant program for the 2026 Scussapalooza Festival. G1, the Innisfil Library Board minutes. G2, the Police Service Board minutes. G3, the proclamation for Crime Stoppers Month, and we're flying the Crime Stoppers flag for the month of January. G4, the Kawasaki Disease Awareness Day on January 26th. G5, the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Program funding confirmation. We're getting some money. G6, the Emergency Preparedness, the Emergency Management Act received royal assent. And that's it. And then we have, that's all the correspondence for information. And then H, notice, motion for which notice has been given, and we have none of those. So we'll go to our consent list recommendation. So we have the two items we're pulling, C3 and D1. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Zanella, seconded by Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That's carried. So we'll go first to C3, and that was Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Richardson is going to second me. I am not going to make any recommendations to change this.
I'm sorry, I messed up, Councillor Waters. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We didn't resolve to go into committee of the whole.
Okay.
My fault. So Deputy Fowler and Councillor Eisses move in second to go into committee of the whole. My apologies, Councillor.
Not a problem. Anyways, Councillor Richards is going to be my seconder on this. I am not requesting any recommendations or changes to it because I know I would lose on any of that, considering the debate we had on this item. I just wanted to make a comment to the residents of Innisfil. So first of all, this council a year ago voted wholeheartedly on the budget that we had presented, which was a 5.5% increase. Now that is high, I acknowledge that, but if you want the services that you get, and if you listen to Alcona chats, we're not delivering those well enough right now. That 5.5 was something that we negotiated with staff, and that's what we came up with, and this council recommended that. Also a year ago, this council, we have reserves to take care of anything disastrous that happens, like the pandemic or the ice storm. We have those. We've set an amount that we think we should have on the back burner, and we all voted, not all of us, I will say, majority voted to keep it at 5% of what we needed, which was about $5 million in that account. We were already below that, and we recommended we should keep it at that. So when there was a surplus in this year's budget, it would have gone into that reserve. However, council in its wisdom decided that they wanted to use that to give tax breaks to residents, and I agree, it is very, very appealing, and who wouldn't turn down a tax break, but it's only for 1 year. And then all council is doing is kicking the can down the road to a new council, which their first item they will deal with when they come back is negotiating what the taxes will be. It is one of the hardest jobs, if you're a brand new councillor, to come back and get a book that's that thick and talks about all the things, the decisions you have to make. But this council chose, in its wisdom, to decide to kick it down the can, because when we try to discount our operations, it always comes back to haunt us. It did during the pandemic, where we kept it at 0. It came back later on at 6%, and so on. So ultimately, you're not getting a break. Only reason I can think of is that, one, there are some hearts on council who want to give you a break. I agree with that. But also, it's an election next year. No one wants to walk into an election next year touting that they increase your taxes. They can communicate to you that they saved you, 1.5% on your taxes this year. But hear me now, that when it comes to 2027, this discussion is going to be around the same high percentages, because we didn't take our responsibility seriously enough to manage the budgets that we have. Staff have done a good job in terms of presenting what it costs to operate a town, and we're a small municipality. And so those taxes are required if you want to maintain those. We can always have a discussion in terms of what you're willing to lose. And we do that during the budget session. We did that and we came up with a 5.5%. So I just wanted an opportunity to say that in 2027, expect that those types of tax increases are going to happen again because we didn't accept the responsibility of managing and protecting the budget the way it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Other questions or comments on the budget? Councillor Eisses.
Thank you, Worship. I feel a bit of an obligation to respond because I was the one that brought the motion forward at the last discussion, the last council meeting, and I respect Councilor Waters' comments very much, but I would also disagree with him that this is somehow the same as the position we were in during the pandemic where we went to zero. And it did. It took us a long time to get back to where we were covering our costs. A 4.2% raise in property taxes is not zero. You mentioned an ice storm, being something that we might have to pay for. Thankfully, we've got funding from another source to pay for that. And these types of things happen all the time. The town's record of financial stewardship is stellar. We have healthy reserves. We also know that we are in an environment that's very challenging. There are homeowners, residents are really having to count their dollars. And when we look at our year end as a town, we had a surplus of 1.9 million, and I would not think of changing what we decided a year ago if we did not have that surplus. So I think it's in good relations with our taxpayers that we recognize that, and our reserves are still healthy. And I agree that next budget will be challenging, but it's always challenging. And I think that this is the right place to be for our residents moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler. Deputy Fowler.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to choose my words carefully because I'm trying just to be very level when I speak on this matter. There's elements of what Councilor Waters has said which I disagree with because, in essence, they're comparing apples to oranges. The 0% during the pandemic was a very significant time where many people were out of work. They lost their jobs. There was a whole bunch of issues upon issues upon issues, and the economy ground to pretty much a halt. So in that particular 0% increase that we ended up compensating for in later years, I want to make it clear, we covered the police budget. We covered the county portion of the budget. We ate it, took away services to cover the costs, so those costs weren't passed on to the taxpayer. We didn't impose them upon them. We'd reduce services to give them the relief on a temporary basis, knowing that we would have to come back and compensate after the fact. The other thing is the election year. That comment, that rubs me so badly the wrong way. We all come here to serve to the best of our abilities. We do the best we can providing the services. But when it comes down to it, this is not about getting reelected. It's about providing relief to people that can't put food on the table. We have to judge. And as Councillor Eisses himself has stated, our reserves are healthy at this moment, so it's a viable option. Moving forward, when it comes to next budget, the next council will have to reevaluate that, and if it's still in a healthy state and they wish not to tap into it to give the relief, that is their choice. What we're doing right now is we're giving people the ability to have the basic necessities that they're struggling for at this moment in time. So it's not as black and white as you say it, and it's not as simply put as you describe it. There's many layers to it, and we're not the only ones they're suffering. So we're going through a time right now where we need to assist those that have put us in power to aid them. And that's the best way we can do it right now. And hopefully we can pull out of this. Thank you.
Councillor Zanella?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Deputy Mayor, and I've struggled with this a lot. We are in difficult times like we've never seen before. It's not all of us. All residents are losing their jobs. They're having a hard time getting by. We don't know from day to day what's going to happen. So I think that, you know, any little bit that we can do to help. And 4.2, if it was, you know, if it could be possible, I'd like it to be less. But I've struggled trying to see where we could do something to make it less, and I can't find an area to bring it any lower than that. So, you know, I just think that we have to do what we can for the residents, ourselves. We're all residents. We're paying the increases too. We've all paid, over the last 4 years, a 20% increase. 5% each year. So, and it's been tough. It's been tough for many of us, and I'm sure for many residents, but I just, you know, any little bit that we can do to ease the burden in these times, because I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow or next week, because there's just so much happening, and it's not, there's no way to know what we can do. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Waters?
I knew I was going to be a lone horse on this ride, so. I understand where all of you are coming from. However, I keep coming back to the fact that we had a vote last year. And last year we said it was going to be 5.5, and you agreed on that. And then, and things were just as difficult or more, not more difficult last year.
No,
and,
we didn't have trade wars.
Oh, yes, we did. Trump was just getting in, and it was just about to happen.
Put all the stuff in.
Anyways,
Through
yes,
the chair.
yes, through the chair, yes. Anyways, and we also voted that we needed reserves, a certain amount of reserves, and we voted on that as well. 1 year later, we're backtracking on all of that, and I'm not going to suggest why, because I've already stated that, and I know it curls the hair on the deputy mayor's head when I say it, so I won't go there again. But I'm just saying that I think we are putting that decision on a new council when they first come in, and I don't think that's right. I think we should stand by what we voted for last year, and I'll be quite glad to take the slings and arrows I'm going to get, being the only one who's going to vote against this item. So I'm not going to take it any further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. And you're not alone on this. I mean, it's been a very difficult time to get to this point, and it's you know, I can agree with you, and I can agree with the deputy, and I can agree with Councillor Eisses. I can agree with everybody at this table. And right in the staff report, it talks about the continued use of the property tax rate stabilization reserve and the ARS reserve fund to support operating costs is not financially sustainable. Reducing the town's reliance on these reserves beginning in 2027 may place upward pressure on the property tax rate unless sufficient assessment growth is realized, which we don't expect is going to happen in 2026, to offset the impact on existing property owners. Should assessment growth be insufficient, council may need to consider alternative measures such as user fees adjustments, cost containment initiatives, or service level adjustments and reductions. And it's in black and white. So, and I would agree, we've made easier decisions than we should have been making. I agree that we should be, I know in Brampton, Mayor Brown told anyone coming to his council chambers to say they wanted something added to the budget. He said, I want you to come with the equal amount of money to take out. So if you come and say you want this added to the budget, I want you to suggest what you think should come out of the budget, equal that amount, come with both. And we haven't done that. In fact, we lost some federal funding, and we've increased our service level to actually kept the service level the same, but took over the cost of it ourselves instead of the federal government. And we're lowering the tax rate by using reserves. And I would argue our reserves aren't that healthy. Our ARS reserve is healthy. Our tax rate stabilization reserve is lower than the policy that we set where it should be. So having said that, I also read in the paper today, a press release from South Simcoe Police, that there's been almost 300% increase in people driving their cars without insurance. People aren't driving their cars without insurance because they think they're going to get away with it. They're driving their cars without insurance because they can't afford to pay for insurance. So we've had a few issues that have come to us this year that are not direct, that we had to deal with. The biggest one was the increase in the police services budget. 10.83% increase year over year in our police services budget. So even if you add the county at 3.5 and our own town increase at 1.3, it's still a 4.2. But I would argue 4.2 is nowhere near the amount that would be considered an election budget. In my respectful opinion, in the city of Toronto, when you went from 9% and 6% to 2%, that's an election budget. But this 4.2, I agree with Councillor Eisses that using the surplus from our 2025 budget was a reasonable thing to do in a year where we have very low assessment growth and very high increase in our police services costs. So going forward to your other point, I've been giving some thought about how do we help that new council in 2027 with their very first very difficult decision on their budget. And one of the things that the county does is the outgoing council doesn't pass a budget, but they do look at a budget and they do kind of make recommendations, and they say, here, new council, from the old outgoing council, you don't have to do this, you can not do any of it, but here's some things that we might suggest that might make it easier for you in your first budget. So I would argue that that is maybe something that this council can do over the next several months. If we notice something, a service level reduction that we think that, is something that we could do that wasn't going to, have everybody screaming from the rafters, let's start making note of some of these things, and let's pass on this sheet of suggestions to the next council to at least give them a bit of a hand with their first budget. But that's something we can talk about in the future. But in the meantime, I think this is a reasonable. I think when I say this a lot, but when people are equally unhappy, when I see one side saying no and the other side, then I think maybe we have found the right tension between the two, and that maybe this is the right place to be for this very exceptional year. So I will be supporting the recommendation as is written. Anyone else want to speak to this? So I'm assuming, Councilor Waters, if you're going to vote against it, you probably don't want to move it. You'd want a different mover for it? Yes. Okay. Is there a mover for the budget? Councillor Drodge. So we have Councillor Drodge, and who was the seconder? Councillor Richardson. Okay, last chance to comment before we vote. And I think maybe what we should do, if we could, Clerk Marshall, is ask for a recorded vote on this item.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Just before this is voted on,
All
would
right.
you like to have council consider shortening the 30-day amendment period for the budget?
Thank you, thank you, thank you for reminding me of that, Clerk Marshall. So this is some procedural gymnastics that is now required because the province decided to bring in the strong mayor powers. The strong mayor powers do not allow the mayor to delegate authority to the budget. So the mayor has to present a budget. This is our way around it. So we have a regular budget discussion, as we always do, and when we have a consensus, or almost consensus, on a budget, then when we reach that point, that is the budget that will be presented as the mayor's budget. And in turn, what's supposed to happen, typically in another municipality, none of you would have seen it. The mayor would have just presented the budget and gave it to you, and you'd have 30 days to make amendments to it. This way, everybody's had lots of time to go through the budget. We've had lots of discussion on the budget. We vote on recommending this budget as the mayor's budget. And then the idea is to then shorten the time to where amendments can be made so that it can be brought back to the next council meeting. Does that clear as mud to everyone? Okay. All right, so the recommendation is on the floor. And are we going to add the amendment? So there's the amendment to shorten so that we can bring it back on January 28th for final vote. Clerk Marshall, is that when we should be doing the recorded vote, or can we do it tonight?
May I look to Audrey to advise on, does this come back on the 28th to vote again?
No, I think it's my understanding that with this amendment to the recommendation, that if there is no objection to it or adjustment requested by council, that it will be deemed to be approved on January the 28th.
Thank you for the clarification. Does everybody understand? If you have any questions, please ask, because I think I just confused you more. So this is not, this is the vote, and then there'll be amendment period up until the 28th, and then it'll be deemed approved at that point. Does everyone understand? Okay. So then I will ask for a recorded vote if I could, Clerk Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. And for additional clarity, the clerk's department does have a mayoral direction prepared to go out tomorrow regarding budget as well. So council will see that. So a recorded vote has been called by Mayor Dolan. When I call your name, please state yes or no. Councillor Eisses.
Yes.
Councillor Constantine.
Yes.
Councillor Richardson.
Yes.
Councilor Waters.
No.
No.
Councillor Zanella.
Yes.
Councillor Saunders.
Yes.
Councillor Drodge.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
And Mayor Dolan.
In favor.
And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. What I really like about this council is that we can sit at this horseshoe, we can passionately make our arguments, and when we get up at the end of the meeting, it's all left at the table. And I really appreciate that and respect you for it. So next we go to the Economic Development Report, and that's Councillor Eisses.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Saunders is my seconder to bring this forward. So a few comments. I wanted to congratulate the Economic Development team for a very thorough report. I know whenever we are doing budgets, I struggle with what that economic development number should be financially, because you could justify almost anything. And I know a lot of municipalities justify a lower amount than we spend on economic development. But I think the report shows that this council is investing in economic development in our town. The reason I pulled this report was something that flagged me with the report's comments around the drainage situation at Innisfil Heights. And the town has been working on many master plans in the last few years, and I think 2 years ago our drainage master plan came forward, and it spoke in that report about doing a specific one for Innisfil Heights. And this bullet in the report, which talks about drainage now becoming a barrier to development, and it speaks to property owners having to undertake costly stormwater management work on a property-by-property basis. And that is something I think as council we need to have a discussion on. I think by allowing this property-by-property analysis of drainage in Innisfil Heights, we're more or less asking business owners to become developers again. You know, they've already purchased property that's in a development area, and to ask them to bring the standards up, which are needed in Innisfil Heights, to today's levels from when it was originally came forward 40 or 50 years ago, is a big ask. So I've with the help of staff, wanted to bring forth a motion that would address that. And I'm hoping that we can have some discussion council level on how to make things better for the Innisfil Heights employment land. So if we want to bring that forward, or do we want some, I'm happy to step aside, and if there's other discussion about the report. I'm not sure, Chair, how you want to handle that. But.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the report in general before we go to the site-specific issue that Councillor, can we just, is that okay with you, Councillor? We'll do more general comments and then we'll go to the amendment. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to thank Councillor Eisses for bringing it forward and to talk about the issues around Innisfil Heights. But there are just a couple other things. So first of all, I want to agree that I think the economic development team is doing a great job. And I think residents should be aware that in Innisfil, taxes are relatively high because we have a very, very small commercial industrial base. And this is a grand attempt to try to reduce taxes to residents by increasing the commercial industrial base that we have. So I think it's money well spent by the town to do that. And I think if you take a look at some of the development that's gone out there and some of the things that have been signed on this year, it proves that we can attract very large employment opportunities to Innisfil. So I want to congratulate the team on that. I do want to ask just a couple of questions to the team. And one has to be around the idea of, I think it's number 3 around, no, it's not, number 2 around innovation and enabled economy. My question is, it seems when we talk about innovation, we're talking strictly, it seems to be focused on the DMZ in terms of what they're doing. And I'm just kind of curious, does that innovation include stepping outside the DMZ in terms of what they're doing, in terms of attracting innovative industry to, do we have any focused policies around trying to attract certain types of economies that we want to come to Innisfil. So my questions around expanding that innovation to outside, it seems to me the way it's read is just to the DMZ. Thank you.
Manager Thompson,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Dolan. So yes, absolutely. The goal number 2, which is support for an innovation-enabled economy, does focus largely on the DMZ Innisfil program, simply because that's where we support startups as well as existing businesses who are looking to innovate. So starting with the DMZ Innisfil program, it's not just tech businesses, and I think that's a message we're still trying to get out there. We are supporting bricks and mortar businesses. We're supporting businesses across all sectors. So in addition to the 110 startups that we've supported through the program, we've also supported 1,300 other businesses through events like our workshop series. So I'll start there. In addition to that, you've asked how else we've supported outside of the DMZ program. So I will note that we have undertaken a key sector analysis as well as a subsector analysis so that we can take a really focused approach to the innovative businesses that we're looking to pursue. One example of that is Northern Transformers, which would be looking at manufacturing oversized transformers, as well as other manufacturers in their value chain.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, was stepping outside of that and looking at those other industries that we can attract to. And so they're already innovative companies, and getting them to start here. And my next question has to do with, I know we can offer incentives to companies to move here. Do we offer any incentives? Yeah, we can, but do we?
Through Mayor Dolan, we can, and we are exploring the development of a community improvement plan. That process is well underway, and I'll use this moment to plug that we're doing a community consultation on January 27th, if any members of the business community would like to attend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions or comments generally on the report? I just wanted to say I like the structure. I like how you started with the goals, the activities, and then the impacts those activities had. It's clear and concise, and it's measurable. You could look at how many successes you had and where they were. And I think it's been a great year for economic development in the town of Innisfil. I think that the Northern Transformer will be a game changer. And I just want to point out that when we originally went to visit Northern Transformer in Vaughan, and I asked the chair of the board, I said, why Innisfil? What made you pick us? They looked all over, and he pointed at Manager Thompson, and he said, so it's that relationship building, right? It's working with them, getting rid of the obstacles that are in the way, putting out that red carpet service and making them feel like they're welcome and that we value them. And that's definitely what I've got from Northern Transformer, and also from DSV when we help them with their employment fair at the library, and spoke to the folks at the employment fair, and they said, honestly, we dial the phone and people pick up and they talk to us. And when we need, what can we do? How can we help? And that's what our best-in-class economic employment team is doing, economic development team is doing, and I thank you very much for that. Councilor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. There was one other item I did want to ask. Something that's come up at the Innisfil Sustainability Committee, and something that the CAO, Mr. Gershaw, brought forward was the issue around data centers, in terms of they seem to be employment opportunities, they're innovative, they're high tech, they're all the things that a community would like to have. But we've seen down in the States that data centers come with their side effects in terms of high energy use, high water use, and that puts pressure on residential energy prices, especially down in the States, and Virginia and a few of the states down there are having a really, really tough time with that. So, and the discussion at the committee was around, is there something that we could do? So the committee is actually actively looking at, what should we be looking out for? But I guess I'll put that to your group in terms of knowing what the repercussions, the side effects are of data centers. Are you looking ahead in terms of preparing the town in terms of what we should be aware of, as opposed to the committee going ahead and doing that? Have you put any time aside in the future to be prepared? Because I think those asks are going to be coming, and it'd be better to be prepared in terms of how we properly respond to that opportunity. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Dolan. That's a very good question. So I will start by saying that although, for example, Northern Transformer mentions economic development, it really is a team effort to attract investment in terms of the full planning and growth team. So when leads come our way, it really requires the collaboration of the full team to understand, do we have the water capacity? Do we have the power capacity? What barriers are in the way? What skilled trades do we have in terms of talent that align with the industries that we're attracting? As it relates to data centers, we are looking at a variety of factors, including direct and indirect economic impacts. So we take into account the types of employment that are created, how that impacts our overall capacity to attract new businesses, and we look at that in the scope of all of our vacant land across the town. So I would say, do we have a specific prospectus, for example, for data centers? No, although advanced manufacturing is one of our top 6 sectors that we are looking to attract. The subsector analysis that we're undertaking now will help us delve deeper into that advanced manufacturing sector to understand which specific types of businesses align with our water, power, and talent. So it would be premature for me to say specifically that we're out there specifically looking to attract data centers, but the subsector research will give us a really clear understanding on what subsectors we should be attracting and which are best for Innisfil's specific economy.
Go ahead, Director Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Through to Councilor Eisses. I think in addition to that, as Laura said, part of that relates to the economic development team and the other teams, but then you take that to the next stage, Councilor Waters, in terms of the official plan review that's ongoing now, and what are we identifying for Innisfil Heights and other areas of the town in terms of the types of uses that we want in certain areas, and that is being done in terms of the uses concurrently with considerations from InPower and InServices on where is appropriate servicing for those types of uses to exist. So that's the next sort of stage that we're concluding in determining where those types of uses would be appropriate and what would be the implications of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments on the report? Seeing none, Clerk Marshall, can we bring the amendment up now? Councillor Eisses.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I'd give a moment for Council to read the motion because there's a few points there. The motion intends to address current businesses obviously more than those new businesses that are starting with Greenfield. They are able, in those applications, to bring drainage up to current standards. The rest of Innisfil Heights does not have that standard. And when an application comes in and staff needs to bring drainage into the site plan, instead of an applicant having to upgrade their whole property to today's standards, the motion in front of you just speaks to the impacts of the proposed development. And we're going to wait until we have a study done to analyze in a regional way what way we want drainage to be achieved in Innisfil Heights. So this is a process where staff will come back after the study is done. And that the study, from my understanding, was already underway in process. So I'll allow staff to maybe add some more comments to the motion.
Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Following up on Councillor Eisses' comments, I think a couple comments from our perspective. The councillor is correct. The RFP to proceed with the master drainage study is being finalized. We're hoping to have that out in the next number of weeks. So the intent behind the study is to look at the broader Innisfil Heights area. It was identified in the stormwater and flooding strategy that we should look at the flooding concerns and constraints that are in that area and really look at Innisfil Heights in the broader sense of the historic drainage issues as well as the knowing it is a development area for the future. How do we address those on sort of the broader perspective? So this motion looks at not just that component of the study, but also when those recommendations come forward, there will be financial implications, there will be options, and those will be brought back to council to determine what role the town plays in that, what opportunities are there for provincial or federal funding considerations that we may apply for, and what is the role of the individual property owners or future development as that happens. So all of those recommendations will come back to council for consideration at the end of the study. In terms of the individual property owners and sort of the stormwater requirements currently, what the motion looks at is there may be individual properties and they may be proposing development while this study is being undertaken. There are legislative requirements under the Planning Act and the Drainage Act that will require us to consider how drainage is being reviewed and contained within the property. Pre and post development is the best way to put it. So from a site that maybe is, Councillor Eisses said, a greenfield site to being fully developed paved site, how are we addressing the drainage off that property and not negatively impacting neighboring properties? But the intent is, through the motion from Councillor Eisses, is not to compound that with the historical drainage challenges that are there. So they have to deal with their own individual site development and how they can mitigate that on a short-term basis, should they want to continue with their development approvals until the master drainage study is brought forward to council. So that was the intent behind the motion.
Questions? Councilor Waters?
I'm a bit unclear. I just want to make sure that whatever this is requiring, that there's no legal ramifications on the town in terms of if flooding happens there, that we've somehow, made it legally our responsibility because we haven't done something. So I'm not too sure if this what's in here will have any impact on that. So I'm just looking for some clarity around the legal issues of what's being required here, because I don't want to put the town in a bad situation. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Waters, I'm going to start with, I'm not the lawyer, so I'm not going to give you a legal opinion, but the intent behind the resolution from staff's perspective is that if a site plan application, which is typically what we're getting in Innisfil Heights, comes forward, there are still legislative requirements that that property owner would have to agree to in a site plan agreement to address drainage associated with their proposed development that staff are not going to be ignoring through that site plan review and approval process. So that would be, we will continue to impose the legislative requirements on any planned development applications that are coming forward.
So the development will still be allowed to go ahead and with all the appropriate stormwater management issues. Will those developments have any impact on the existing development issues that are there?
So Mayor Dolan, through you to Councillor Waters, if I think about some of the applications that we've dealt with in the last couple of years, when their stormwater management reports are being done, they're looking at the drainage implications, and the challenge they're having is that some of those are historical impacts of drainage occurring in the area that are not associated specifically with their site, and they're having to mitigate those impacts with larger stormwater controls on site. And so it's what are the interim solutions they can impose for their development, respecting the fact that there will be a broader drainage study being undertaken. We may not be talking about a lot of applications that will proceed during the time frame that we're talking about completing the master drainage study. We have 2 existing applications that continue to be underway, but they're in different stages, and we don't have other applications that have been submitted at this point. So it may be a moot point for council to consider at this point in time, but we still have to look at those stormwater reports and assess what are the local controls that still need to be implemented at this time, and there is language that is being included in those site plan agreements should they proceed, that they understand there will be obligations coming out of the master drainage study that may have impacts on their property as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just had a question whether the report will consider the Municipal Drainage Act as a tool. In this case, I could see it being a fair way to distribute costs, but also if the Municipal Drainage Act wasn't being considered, I guess you've said there's still through site plan control, you're able to identify contributions. I want everybody to be treated fairly and there not be winners and losers. One person have to pay for all the drainage and the other person not have to pay for any based on the timing of their application.
Thanks, Mayor Dolan. That's a great question. Point number 3 that speaks to the fact that the study will review the current drainage challenges, look at the range of options, including the potential to implement a municipal drain, which would be that component under the Drainage Act, and to provide recommendations on that overall drainage as well as the individual lot. So I appreciate there's a lot of words on the screen, so I would highlight that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councillor Eisses.
Maybe a further comment. I know there was an instance that happened when MTO was constructing the expansion of the Highway 400. It affected some drainage along that road. And as they investigated that drainage, they found a culvert that they didn't know was there. So obviously when Innisfil Heights was first developed, the standards around design and information keeping were different. So I see this motion as the town taking a leadership role in looking at those issues. The study, I'm sure, will help in that aspect. But our master drainage study that was done a couple years ago spoke to, are the culverts sized appropriately? Are they in good repair? I think we need to get our house in order around Innisfil Heights to realize the potential that economic development is working towards. So that's where I hope this motion will assist in that being a priority.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we have a motion that's been duly moved and seconded. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. So we'll now go to the RISE recommendation, please. That'd be moved by Councillor Saunders, second by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. After the RISE recommendation, we'll go to the consideration of adopting the recommendations tonight in the Committee of the Whole, moved by Deputy Mayor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? That is carried. This notice of motion, just giving notice, this will come to the January 28th council meeting for discussion. And next is announcements. And I'll go to Councilor Eisses.
Thank you, Your Worship. I took the opportunity to attend the Innisfil Lions and Rotary chili contest on Sunday, and thought that was a great event. It was the room was full. Everybody was well fed and happy, and it was really gratifying to talk to some of the volunteer groups and hear that spirit of cooperation that exists in the town right now, and how maybe 5 or 10 years ago that wasn't the case. So just an observation that it's and kudos to those groups when they contribute to the town like that. Also in Ward 1 this Saturday, the Innisfil Spartans have a game at 7:30, and coming up February 1st. There's going to be pancakes breakfast served by council at the YMCA. So make sure you put that on your calendar. It's always a great event.
Thank you, Councillor Eisses. Councillor Constantine.
Thank you. On Saturday at the Morgan Russell Banquet Hall, 1354 Killarney Beach Road, there will be Tamil Heritage Month celebration, and it's free to the public, and there'll be food, drink, dance and everything. So if you would like, you can attend. And also, the time is it starts at 3:00. And there was supposed to be the Robbie Burns dinner at the Legion, and that has been canceled.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that at the library for New Year's Eve, they had, it was very well attended with 85 kids. They all got to celebrate 2026 starting at noon on December 31st. Upcoming at the library is Art and Philosophy Discussion Group. That is on Tuesday next week from 6:30 to 7:30, as well as a Teen Book Chat, which is tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 7:30. And just a reminder to everyone about the home library service that the library does have. So those of you that with all this snow cannot get out, you can reach out to the library for home library service. They have volunteers that will deliver the books or whatever sort of materials that you want to your home. So just make sure that if you're stuck at home and need some reading material, to take advantage of that.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple items. I just want to say congrats to a new business in Ward 4, Trey Fay, especially tea new store next to Popeyes. I was really quite impressed at how busy it was when a large member of council showed up. And I must admit that their specialty iced coffee, the Vietnamese coffee, was absolutely wonderful. That's where I'm going from now on for my iced coffee. I'm not too sure I want to have it in the wintertime, mind you, but summertime, that's where I'm going. And I'll also say thanks very much to the Innisfil Lions Club for their chili cook-off. I was there as well, and it was quite the task as councillor, and I took it on as a challenge to go to 12 tables and have a sample of every single one of them, and whenever you said just a little bit, they filled the whole thing up. So I didn't even have to eat dinner that night. So thank you very much for a nice variety of chili from everyone who was there, and it was for a good cause. So congrats to them for pulling that off. Very, very successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councillor Zanella. Nothing. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Legion's general meeting is on Sunday, January 18th at 1 p.m. Also, Councillor Richardson and I are sharing the Fall in Love with the Legion again this year. It's February 7th at 6 p.m. at the Stroud Arena. January 21st is the Bell Let's Talk Day. It's taking a moment for mental health. They want to raise over $10 million, which they did last year. They want to do it again this year. And I'm going to say something that happened in Councillor Zanella's ward that she probably doesn't know is the Jackson Park, that's an accessible park, is now open in the Lake Haven Park area. It is almost ready to go. The park is ready to go with all the amendments. The fields and the parking is not ready. They'll be done in the spring. So, and that just opened this week.
We'll let Councillor Zanella be the first one down the slide in the spring when we go to cut the ribbon. Thank you. Councillor Drodge.
Thanks, Your Worship. On February 7th, the Cookstown Chambers of Commerce is putting off a Cookstown community dance at the Cookstown Curling Club. If you're interested in attending, it's at, I think it starts at 8 p.m. and you can get your tickets at eventbrite.ca. Also, February 14th, the Churchill Community Center is doing a family-guided painting class from 10:30 a.m. till 12. Registration is required. You can do that at the town of Innisfil. Thanks.
Councillor Drodge, you missed an event at the OG Bash that you always talk about. So.
And on February 7th, the Guildford Hall is hosting their OG Bash. And it's Pat James and the Whole Truth. It's $50 a couple, and I hope everybody can attend.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. On January 3rd, I attended the inaugural Snow Dogs tournament. It's a special needs hockey teams that play. They don't base it on age specific or gender specific. Everyone comes out. They have a good time. They just show that everyone who is capable or willing has a space that they can come, find camaraderie, and just enjoy themselves. If you have an opportunity, please check them out. They take care of so many people in our community, and it's worthwhile to check out. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. This is old news, but still very, very good news. We haven't had a council meeting since we were thrilled to be at the announcement at the Rosardo Health and Wellness Center, where Gail Wood from RVH told us that they will be locating a new MRI machine right here in Innisfil. We'll have our own MRI. And I was interested to hear Dr. Tyberg talk about the state-of-the-art technology. It won't be as claustrophobic as some of the older MRIs. So it's supposed to be up and running in November, so we'll hold them to their feet to the fire and hope that will happen. Very excited about that. And ask council to keep January 26th. We're going to be invited to a Paws and Boots on the ground, where they'll celebrate young community members who are training the therapy dogs. You'll all remember the delegation that we received from this group. So look forward to getting invited to an event. I believe it's at the Legion. And that's all I have. So we'll now go to the conforming bylaw and adjournment at 8:14 p.m. and that is Councillor Richardson and Councillor Drodge. All those in favor? That is carried. Here's hoping the balance of the council meetings in 2026 go as smoothly as this one. Thanks everybody for your time and attention, and have a wonderful rest